JK Rowling, the famed British author and billionaire responsible for creating the Harry Potter franchise, came under fire in the social media sphere back in June of 2020 for comments that were deemed insensitive toward members of the transgender community. So stay tuned and don't go away, because we're going to talk about why JK Rowling is banned from the Harry Potter reunion, plus other Harry Potter reunion news. First up, what do we know about the Harry Potter reunion so far? Let's find out. Actors Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson, the trio who brought the hugely successful Harry Potter franchise to life 20 years ago, are set to reunite for a 20th anniversary reunion special. The trio is teaming up with filmmaker Chris Columbus and other cast members for the very first time in an HBO Max special. And Harry Potter fans around the world are going totally crazy and can barely contain their excitement. The special, titled Harry Potter 20th Anniversary Return to Hogwarts, is scheduled to premiere on HBO Max on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2022. According to HBO Max, the feature will tell an enchanting making-of story through all new in-depth interviews and cast conversations. All 8 of Warner Bros.' original Harry Potter films are currently streaming on HBO Max for you to enjoy, and the special will also air on Warner Media's TBS and the Cartoon Network in spring of 2022. Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. But of course, ironically, if you watch the Harry Potter reunion special, there's one face that'll be noticeably absent, and it's the face of the one who started it all, JK Rowling. Next up, why has JK Rowling now become persona non grata? You're about to find out. All the controversy started in June of 2020, when the famed author read the headline from an opinion piece published by DVX, a social media platform. The headline read, "Creating a more equal post-COVID-19 world for people who menstruate." It's clear that DVX was attempting to be sensitive to the fact that not all people who consider themselves women menstruate. Rowling responded to the post by tweeting, "People who menstruate? I'm sure they used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Wumban, wimpund, wumud." Rowling's comments stirred up a hornet's nest on social media and angered the LGBTQ+ community, and the transgender community in particular. The backlash was as swift as it was fierce. Members of the aforementioned communities were quick to call out Rowling's comments as offensive and dismissive. But it didn't end there. Rowling also became the subject of some seriously hate-filled, literal profanity, and she was even on the receiving end of death threats and threats of violence. Rowling, however, didn't cower or bow down to the backlash, and on the contrary, doubled down on her statement and responded with a series of tweets designed to explain away or defend her initial remarks. In a subsequent tweet, Rowling fired back with, "I refuse to bow down to a movement that I believe is doing demonstrable harm and seeking to erode women as a political and biological class, and offering cover to predators like few before it." Up next, was Rowling's explanation about her comments satisfactory and enough to appease those she had offended? Let's take a look. Following the backlash from her controversial comments, Rowling attempted to offer up an explanation and revealed that she had been a domestic abuse and sexual assault survivor. Rowling said, "I'm mentioning these things now not in an attempt to garner sympathy, but out of solidarity with the huge number of women who have histories like mine, who have been slurred as bigots for having concerns around single-sex spaces." Many people fired back, though, and said that Rowling's history of abuse is irrelevant to her remarks about transgendered people, and that she was simply trying to save face by garnering sympathy and playing the victim. To be frank, Rowling's attempts at explaining away her bigoted and insensitive comments were incredibly lame. It's clear that she realized she stepped in a pile of dog poop with her comments and was doing everything she could to get it off her shoe. Rowling seemed to be confusing two separate issues, sex and gender, and it's truly astonishing that someone such as herself, someone who's brilliantly creative and obviously intelligent, just doesn't get it. According to the Canadian Institute of Health Research, sex is based on biological attributes such as physical and physiological features, including chromosomes and reproductive organs, while gender refers to the socially constructed roles, behaviors, expressions, and identities of girls, women, boys, men, and gender-diverse people. Stay tuned and don't go away, because we're going to be discussing some of the comments and reactions to Rowling's comments from people around the world and Harry Potter cast members. Up next, what did the Twitter sphere have to say about Rowling's comments? Let's have a look. Members of the trans community were quick to educate Rowling on the fact that people aren't required to menstruate in order to be considered women, or vice versa. One Twitter user tweeted, "Ah yes, JK Rowling proving once again that she is transphobic and dismissive of trans people. Have you ever witnessed someone say something that was obviously insulting that then continues to try and explain away why they said and what they said? You may have rolled your eyes and thought to yourself, please just shut up already." Well, that's how people started to feel about Rowling, who just couldn't stop trying to defend herself and her clearly insensitive remarks. Rowling fired back saying, "If sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived realities of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. My life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it's hateful to say so." The part where she says, "I know and love trans people," warrants closer examination. It's sort of like a person who repeatedly refers to black people using the N-word, but then turns around and says, "Hey, I'm not racist. I have friends who are black." It's the same sort of straw man argument, and frankly, it's ridiculous. Next up, what did Harry Potter cast members and other celebs have to say in response to Rowling's remarks? Let's find out. Thankfully, Harry Potter star Daniel Radcliffe didn't stay silent and spoke out about the Rowling controversy. Radcliffe said, "To all the people who now feel that their experience of the Harry Potter books has been tarnished or diminished, I am deeply sorry for the pain these these comments have caused you. I really hope that you don't entirely lose what was valuable in these stories to you. Emma Watson took to Twitter within hours of Rowling's comments and said, "Trans people are who they say they are and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned or told they aren't who they say they are. I want my trans followers to know that I and so many other people around the world see you, respect you, and love you for who you are." Actor Eddie Redmayne was quick to speak up against Rowling and said, "I disagree with Joe's comments. Trans women are women, trans men are men, and non-binary identities are valid. I would never want to speak on behalf of the community, but I do know that my dear transgender friends and colleagues are tired of this constant questioning of their identities, which all too often results in violence and abuse, and it's time to let them do so." Up next, did the social media war between Rowling and members of the trans community end there? Let's take a look. Within days of Rowling's comments, just as things were beginning to quiet down, the ongoing battle of tweets flared up again, with Rowling repeatedly trying to explain away and defend her comments in the hopes that it would quell and appease those she had hurt and offended. Long story short, it didn't work. Rowling even wrote an essay to argue her sex is real position and the legal definition of sex and replaces it with gender. It's funny how some people who make mistakes try to dig themselves out of a hole, but only end up digging themselves into a deeper one. That's exactly what Rowling was doing with her repeated attempts to justify her comments. In this bizarre essay piece, Rowling tries to justify her comments by saying, "It's been clear to me for a while that the new trans activism is having a significant impact on many of the causes I support." Rowling also argued that she doesn't support gender-neutral bathrooms and said that it will put women at risk of being attacked by predators. See? She just keeps digging that hole deeper and deeper. Rowling said, "When you throw open the doors of bathrooms and changing rooms to any man who believes or feels he's a woman, then you open the door to any and all men who would wish to come inside. This is the simple truth." Finally, if you need further proof that Rowling has no idea what she's talking about, here it is. A 2018 study published by the Williams Institute of UCLA School of Law found that there is no correlation between increased violence or safety risks if transgender people are allowed to use washrooms that align with their gender identity. Lastly, we'd like to tell the members of the LGBTQIA2S+ communities around the world that we love you and respect you. That's a wrap for today's video, folks. Hit us with that like and subscribe to our channel. If you don't subscribe, you'll miss out on a ton of awesome videos that we have coming your way.